Hey folks, Burnt Powder 5 here. Today we're going to go through part 2 of what I do after the cases are cleaned initially. What we do is I use this specific loading block to do my spray lube on there. I use Hornady one-shot spray lube, just switch to that from a generic case lube pad that usually comes with most kits. You take this pad's like a foam material, you take case lube, squeeze it over there, kind of rub it, spread it out, and then you roll your cases back and forth on here to lube them up. It's kind of a time-consuming thing. It gets all over your hands. You have to wear. I usually wear gloves when I do that. I just found it to be very cumbersome. So what I did is I switched to one shot. So I shake up the one shot real good. Hit it from all sides at a 45-degree angle, so you get it down in the case neck, so the expander ball will go over it relatively easy. And there you go, you let it set for a minute. The reason I have it on a towel is it prevents all that stuff getting on my bench. So now when it comes to setting up the die, what I do to set up the die is I have it set. I lock the lock ring so I can just screw it down and tighten it up and it's good to go. But what I use for initially is I keep a dummy round just in case my specification gets screwed up. I keep a dummy round, and I know this round fits into the chamber of the rifle and functions perfectly. What I do is partially resize. Once I have all the cases have initially been fired through the rifle, they're sized to that chamber. So since I use this gun for hunting, I resize them down so they function flawlessly through the firearm. So I take a dummy round and I set up the die with the dummy round. But my spec is based off of the case shoulder. I measure from the case head to the case shoulder, and I bump that down about 3/1000ths of an inch to make it function through the firearm. Each firearm is going to vary, so what you're going to do is adjust it to your own specification. You just put that in there, pull the ram up each time adjusting the die down in small increments until it functions perfectly through your rifle. And to measure that, I got some bump gauges off of Sinclair's International. There's for several different calipers. It's all based on the shoulder datum degree, and that's how you pick your correct insert. This one says 17. This is for anything that's off of 30-06, as the 30-06 being the parent case. And then you have to get a comparator body, this green piece right here, and you insert this in there, the insert in there, and lock it down with a little Allen. This one is 20 degrees, which is a 308 is 20 degrees shoulder, so anything that's made off a 308 case has a 20 degree shoulder, and you can use this comparator for that. So I prefer to use a digital caliper. You don't have to use a digital one, you can use just a regular dial caliper. And then I install their comparator body. Now, I put the comparator body on there, run it up, snug it with the jaws of the caliper to make sure it's flush and all the way down at the bottom of the groove. Lock it in lightly, you don't need to over tighten it. And then I put in the dummy case to get my zero. So I put the dummy case in. You can see how it sets off the shoulder. Have the bottom jaw touch the head of the case. Spin it lightly, and that's my zero, and I zero the caliper off of that. So now when I run it through, I can double check to make sure my specification is good. So now these are dried for about a minute, because you need to have the case lube dry for about a minute. We're going to run them through. It's going to be slow because I don't want to shake the camera too bad. Take it all the way up to the top of the stroke, pull it back down, and measure. Right on the money. See that? Right on the money, which is perfect. So we know that's going to function good. And once you get it to your certain spec, you're going to take an Allen and lock down the ring. And the reason you want to do that is then when you unlock, take the die out of the press, you don't have to readjust it each time for that specific firearm. Now if you have several guns that are shooting the same caliper, you're going to have to do that each time. So you're going to run all these cases through each time. And then after that, you're going to toss them in the tumbler and run them for about a half hour to get all the case lube off, and then we'll go to the next step.